From the mud and mayhem of World War II to the jungles of Malaya and the wind-swept outcrops of the Falklands, the Royal Marines have taken ordinary British rifles and performed extraordinary tasks. Now, in the 21st century, they've adopted another new firearm. These British bulldogs have adopted a bull pup. Royal Marine Commandos, one of the world's toughest elite units. A special force that take their whirlwind of operations over land and over sea. Diversity of skills is at their core. Whether it's paddling a canoe on a midnight raid, scaling a mountain at extreme altitude, or flying a helicopter behind enemy lines, these guys are on it.
There are a number of different specializations within the Marines. You could become a pilot, you could become a mountain leader, go off and do a course with the engineers. My own specialization was to become a Royal Marines pilot.
Brian Adcock was a helicopter pilot with the Royal Marines for 11 years, airlifting commandos all around the world.
Royal Marines pride themselves on being able to operate at sea and on land. So I've been on a number of deployments where the helicopters get packed up along with all the Land Rovers, artillery pieces and everything else, taken off on deployment to other sides of the world and then put back together again and used to fly operations from the ships and also on land.
Since the 1970s, the Royal Marines' chopper of choice has been the Lynx. A flexible, robust platform capable of toughing it out in the worst conditions. It's also got class.
The Lynx helicopter has often been described, certainly before the arrival of Apache, as the Ferrari of the military helicopter fleet in the UK. It really is a sexy beast of a helicopter to fly.
With twin Rolls-Royce engines under its hood, the Lynx is capable of hitting a top speed of over 200 miles per hour. That's the Lynx effect. And the Lynx offers versatility and adaptability the Royal Marines normally expect of themselves.
It can basically lift a section of men, which is 8 blokes with kit, around the battlefield. It can also be used as a medical transport, and in the particular mode that I was trained to fly it for, it's also used as an anti-tank helicopter.
The Lynx has been in service with the Royal Marines since the 70s and is still soaring high. Fangs out, it's ripping up the skies of Afghanistan to this day. When a Royal Marine chooses his speciality, he chooses to funnel and purify his skills to achieve distinction in one field. With a 1 in 5 pass rate, the hardest and most testing is the notorious mountain warfare cadre.
Training to become a mountain leader, to join the Mountain and Arctic Warfare Cadre. It's 9 months long. You go to Scotland and you do probably the hardest military training package there is in UK, if not the world. You do a horrendous mountain exercise, carrying exceptionally large packs and difficult terrain. At the end of the exercise, you're then shipped off to the Hebrides and you're dumped with absolutely no kit apart from what you're standing in, your underwear and a thin shirt, a pair of boots with no laces. We then spent 10 days living off the land, eating roadkill from the local roads, eating some cattle fodder, and on one particularly memorable but unpleasant occasion, I ate 100 limpets without chewing any of them because I really don't like seafood at all. You then spend a month training out in the Swiss Alps, training to be an alpine mountaineer, and at the end of that you become a mountain leader.
The mountain warfare units are as essential now as they have ever been. In Afghanistan, the Royal Marine Commandos have duked it out with the Taliban at high altitude.
The Royal Marines have been sent out to Afghanistan. The territory there ideally suits them in that it's, generally speaking, very inhospitable, mountainous, desert, arid, nasty terrain, which our training ideally prepares us for.
Conditions in Afghanistan. Some of my Marines buddies have said they've been as cold as they've ever been, colder than sitting in piss-wet clothes on a training exercise.
With mountains, desert, freezing cold, driving sand, and the enemy to contend with, sometimes it's better to grab a lift. Looking for a multi-purpose set of wheels that could chew up the Afghan landscape, the Marines found a ride that could do just the job. The Viking.
The Vikings have been absolutely paramount, and without them, I think the Marines would have been struggling.
The Viking is a fully amphibious, armored, all-terrain vehicle, which consists of 2 linked track units. Dressed in anti-RPG slat armor, packing a 5.9-liter 6-cylinder turbo diesel engine, and with room for 12 fully laden soldiers, the Viking was designed especially for the Royal Marines. When they were deployed in Afghanistan, it enabled them to take a different tactical battle to the Taliban.
The Marines took their Vikings to Afghanistan, where they were hugely successful, and played a great part in the mobility which enabled the Marines to take on the Taliban away from the buildings. Instead of holding up in buildings and base camps like their predecessors had done, they got out and dished it out to them out in the open. And 3 Vikings were blown up on mines, and the crews walked away on every single occasion.
And they're fantastic beasts, reliable, tough, quick, and they get you from A to B. The sort of distances that might take you 2 or 3 days to walk with a burden on your back, you can now do in 30 minutes.
Ransacking the rocky, dusty terrain, the Viking has been a marauding success. Yet, the assault rifle the Royal Marines pack in Afghanistan has been less successful and a lot more controversial. Following a flawless history of conventional and reliable assault rifles, the British took the radical step of adopting an unconventional weapon, the SA-80.
The SA-80 represented a real departure in British weapon technology. It was fully automatic, and it was a bullpup design. Now, the bullpup design meant that its working parts were contained in the weapon's butt, so it was going to be significantly shorter than the conventional rifle, which had a butt and then the working parts.
The SA-80 is 4 inches shorter than the Russian AK-47 and 8.5 inches shorter than the American M16. It also packs a 4x optical scope as standard.
The main advantages of the bullpup are, in fact, its compact size. It's easier under battlefield conditions to control because you don't have a long barrel sticking out, and for fighting in built-up areas and very confined areas, then the bullpup obviously has a great advantage.
The advantages of the bullpup seem conclusive, but on the battlefield, results have been mixed. Among the major powers, only the British and French field a bullpup design, and both suffered teething problems.
The SA-80, when it first came in the mid-1980s, was not a terribly popular weapon. It lacked reliability. The working parts were fiddly. It was prone to jamming if it got dust or dirt or ice or snow in it. And if you're operating in extreme environments like the Royal Marines do, in the Arctic or in the desert, then that's a real problem.
The British government decided to stick with the bullpup concept, and in 2000 commissioned German manufacturer Heckler & Koch to revamp the SA-80.
The improvements that were made to the rifle are internal, to make sure that it doesn't jam, certainly when there's mud or sand about, but it has led to a great improvement in the rifle under battlefield conditions.
The revamp was a resounding success. Like a phoenix from the flames, the SA-80 was reborn.
The net result is now, I think, a pretty impressive weapon. Capable of fully automatic fire, easy to handle because it's short and stubby and carries comfortably across the middle of the body, and with a good sight on it, which enables the infantryman fighting in a variety of circumstances to get a really good magnified view of his opponent.